My name is Cynthia Taft-Barrel. I'm president of the North Reading chapter of the League of Women Voters, and I want to welcome you, the candidates, the audience, and the people who are at home watching us on cable tonight. So for those of us who may be unfamiliar with the League of Women Voters, our particular contribution to the community, is that we host, our biggest event is the Candidates Night tonight, and we do it in a nonpartisan way so that all the candidates can feel as if they're being treated equally, which they are. And this is a transparent system so that we like to put forth the issues and the candidates a week prior to town elections, which will be next Tuesday on May 6th. Let me see. And one of the things also, in addition to Candidates Night, if a person is on the League of Women Voters Board, they're not allowed to publicly support a candidate with signs and that type of thing. That's part of this nonpartisan, open manner. And we feel that by having the candidates here and, of course, we have the wonderful transcript involved, that this helps to educate the members of the community so they're aware of what the issues that are facing and how these candidates would address these issues. We do allow questions from the audience. Mr. Therese will lead the first question tonight, and then we do accept questions from the audience, but we do look at them because we don't want anything of a personal nature or a question that does not relate to the specific office that they're running for, and that way it helps the candidates be more comfortable. I want to introduce you to Mary Jane Moran, who's our neighboring League of Women Voters, and this, by having Mary Jane here rather than a member of our own league, that's another indication that we want this system to be transparent and equitable. So, Mary Jane, if you'd start.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here tonight to represent the League of Women Voters at this Candidates Forum. Those who hold local office have a very great impact on our lives, and this opportunity for all of you to directly ask questions of those who are going to make decisions for the town where you live, this is really the most direct form of democracy. I hope that you all have cards and are writing down your questions. Just to go over the times, again, questions should be addressed to all the candidates and must address the qualifications of the candidate for this office or their opinions on subjects relevant to this office. And we consolidate, and we usually do a lot of consolidating. So the first question, as Cynthia said, will be asked by Mr. Therese of the North Reading transcript. The candidates will each have 2 minutes to answer the question, and then if they choose, they'll have another minute to respond to their opponent's response. So 2 minutes for an answer, 1 minute for a rebuttal, if you so choose. Please take note of our timekeeper, Jenny Mills. She's going to hold up some signs to help you along to know how much time you have. And we rotate the order in which you answer the questions, just so everybody has a chance to go first and last. I have a rotation here, but if I get confused, just let me know. Okay, so with that, I think we'll, and when we're done with the questions, if there are no more questions, or maybe around 8:15 at the latest, you'll each have 5 minutes to give a closing statement. At that point, we will go and hear from any unopposed candidates who will also have 5 minutes to make a statement. So with that, I will ask Mr. Therese to ask the first question, and Mr. Smith will answer first. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure if the candidates know this, but the selectmen have revised their schedule for appointing a new town administrator. And now the interviews and appointment will take place after next week's election. So one of you will get to decide and have a vote on that. So that being said, what qualities will you be looking for in choosing a new town administrator for North Reading?
First of all, I'm surprised to hear that they changed it. I'm very happy they changed it. I'm very satisfied for the vote and the Board of Selectmen has taken and the position they've taken, because of a very unpopular decision that they had made previous to this. And your question is?
What qualities would
What
you
qualities? I pretty much was a strong supporter of the current town administrator, and I would look for a lot of the qualities that he has shown in his tenure of, in his 9 years of being present town administrator in the town of North Reading. I believe that a town administrator that's going to be newly appointed to this job has got to become very familiar with the needs of the town, the wants of the town, and the past history of the town. I believe in the profile that it very clearly stated what the outside consultants had recommended for qualifications that he should hold. And the one key one that I saw in the profile was that he have at least 5 minutes, sorry about that, 5 minutes, that he have 5 years of experience at least as a town administrator in some other town. I was curious to find out today, I made a call to the town of Wayland that was considering a town administrator, and they were following the same process that this board followed, and they narrowed the search down to 2. One of the 2 that was left decided he didn't want the job. The other one was from Chicago, and he decided that he didn't want to live in the eastern part of the country, so he isn't showing up at all, and they're back to square one, and they got to re-advertise for that position. That's why I thought when the steering committee, screening committee had decided on 5 to be presented to the Board of Selectmen, that they should go from 5 down to 3 and then make the appointment. But it's a very, very important, it's the most important part of the town's history. It's the most important job in the town of North Reading, and I hope we get a well-qualified guy. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Gill, do you need him to, Mr. Torres, to repeat, or?
No, I understand the question. Excuse me. First of all, Bob, thank you for doing this every year, and for the League of Women's Voters for doing it every year as well. I appreciate this. And Bill, thank you for coming forward and running for office here in North Reading. And to the TV viewers and to everyone in the audience. The office of the position of the town administrator is the most important position in our town. It covers every aspect of our budget on the town side, and is responsible for making sure that the DPW functions properly, the police department is running effectively, as is the fire department. So the job is very crucial. It is my hope that the decision made by the current board to move things forward was truly to the benefit of the town and in the best interest of the community. I would have liked to have participated in in one part of the interviews at the once elected. That apparently is not going to be available to me, but I would have liked to have been able to add maybe some last minute in perspective and help the process. Whether it's Bill or myself, which I do hope it's me, but we weren't going to be able to change anything, but we might have been able to add something that would have been added to the equation and say, oh yeah, that's a good idea. But unfortunately for us, that decision is not available to us. But I just hope that the decision that is made is one that works out well for the town, and I hope what happened in Wayland doesn't happen to our town. So.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, do you want to take advantage of having another minute?
Well, I think Jeff has pointed out pretty much my feelings too, that it is the most crucial appointment in the town of North Reading. It's the highest ranking position in the town of North Reading. There's a tremendous amount of responsibility goes with that position. And like I said before, I honestly and truly felt that we had a good administrator, and I think it's a shame that we're losing 30 years of experience to somebody that may have no experience at all in town administration or municipal government. because it's so crucial. Like Jeff said, it's got to be the right decision, and I too feel that I think either Jeff or myself should have an opportunity to have a part in the overall decision of who's going to be serving as the next town administrator. That's about all I have to say.
And do you want to add anything,
Yes,
Mr.
yes,
Yule?
I'll just add a little bit further on this. It's my hope, and I know the board, I've sat with the four of the current board members, and their intent is always to the benefit and to the greater good of the community, to get the best possible people in place to do the best things. They could be wrong, they could be right. It's not for me to judge that at this point, but I hope they're right.
Okay, to move on. And I just would like to say to the audience, as we said before, all questions must be addressed to both candidates. So I just want to make that point, okay? Thank you. So the next question will go to Mr. Yule first. I understand you both served on the Board of Selectmen before. Right, you both.
Yes.
So you know what you're getting into. Wow. Well, okay.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah. Looking back on your terms on the Board of Selectmen, what would you do differently in your next term? What was your best decision, and what decision would you change if you could?
That's it.
Wow, that's loaded.
That's loaded. That's good. I didn't give that any thought about, I'm so busy moving forward with things that I don't worry about the past anymore because, as they say, the past is the past. But, that being said, my 3 years on the board were obviously a very interesting and very exciting time. I always felt I was doing something good for the community. And when my closing statements, when I left the Board of Selectmen, I said, it's not for me to judge whether I've done well or not. That it's not for me to do that. People decide that, and if I were to run again, and I am today, they will decide. They will tell me whether they think that I've done well for the town. I think one of the things I'm proud of is my involvement as from the selectmen's perspective in helping the establish the funding for the new school for our children, because I think education is really, really very crucial at this time, and the technology and everything that is out there is vital. So I would say that supporting our school system in the efforts for the new school. I don't like to think I ever made a wrong decision, and I don't like to think that I made any decision that I'd have to recall and say I really regret. So I don't feel that I position myself in that regard.
And Mr. Smith?
Could you repeat the question once?
Okay. Looking back on your terms on the Board of Selectmen, what would you do differently in your next term? And what was your best decision as a former selectman? And are there any decisions that you would change if you could?
I'll start with, I actually served on the Board of Selectmen for a period of probably 19 years. I also served on the Community Planning Board, and I served on the Board of Public Works. But to go back to the early years in the 1970s when I was on the board, the town of North Reading had a great opportunity to join the West Peabody South District sewer connection. And we had an opportunity to bring that sewer connection up to the North Reading line for a mere $250,000. And at the time, Mr. O'Brien, Philip O'Brien, and Nick O'Brien, as people knew him, not Philip, but by Nick, O'Brien and myself, the only 2 out of 5 that voted to bring that line up into North Reading. And it was a disaster that we didn't take it at that opportune time, because now we're looking at a $50 to $60 or $70 million price tag to bring the sewer connection into this town and have any type of sewer for industry to expand in this particular town. The other crucial one was, I was sitting on the board in, I believe it was 1976 or 78, in that area someplace. We also had the opportunity to take the water rights to Swan Pond back from the town of Danvers. They were paying us a grand total of $13,800 to use that facility for water that goes from the Swan Pond into the Middleton Pond, and from the Middleton Pond into the Danvers Water District. That was an awful vote taken by the Board of Selectmen, and I was outvoted 4-1, if you can believe it, to take the rights back, because they thought they were such great neighbors that they should leave the water to the town of Danvers instead of taking the rights back for the town of North Reading. Terrible decision on the part of the Board of Selectmen. The third one was, and the biggest vote, the biggest stand I think I ever took was in opposition to the Swan Pond School. That defeated me at the Board of Selectmen because I took that. Can I finish that?
Well, you get another minute.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Mr.
I
Yule, do you
was
want
told to
to?
stop.
Yeah. Mr. Yule, do you want to say anything?
Yes, I think one of the things that, two things that I think were important while I was on the Board of Selectmen. I worked very closely with all the committees. We all have our liaisons and so on, and I feel that the committees that we have about, I don't know, at least 19, even more than that. In working with these committees and bringing their ideas forward, I worked very hard in doing that. It was vital. It was very rare, it seemed, that having a selectman come to the subcommittees and go to their meetings. They were very surprised at that. But I went diligently, and I tried to bring their views and their perspectives and their brilliance to the table, and I thought that was very, very important.
Thank you. I think I confused you there, Mr. Smith, so you can now take that other minute that you
Okay, thanks.
wanted to say more.
I think the best decision I ever made, and it was probably the most controversial decision that I ever stood by, was when I believe I was chairman of the Board of Selectmen at the time, and the community kept continually voting against the Swan Pond School, and we were not. I wanted to clear this with the town, that the group that I was associating with, we were in support of the elementary school being built, but not the location they were trying to put it in. They were trying to put the school down in Swan Pond, and we continually went against that recommendation. And the main reasons were, it's loaded with deer, it was loaded with deer ticks. What came with the deer tick is Lyme's disease. It was also loaded with mosquitoes. What comes with the mosquito was West Nile disease. I hate Russian. And the other thing it was a controversial was whether or not they needed a sewer treatment facility. I went over that over and over and over with the Board of Health, and they continually said, no, they need it. And the school department at the time was saying they didn't think they needed it. So we were at odds.
Okay.
There would have to be a tremendous amount of reconstruction in the Bigham Road area.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
I can't finish?
Well, we really do want to stick to
I'll
the.
let him finish if I can.
Okay,
finish
we'll
the
make our
sentence,
own rules.
yeah.
Okay, you can finish, and then he gets
I
another
just
minute.
to rephrase it a little bit, there was a tremendous amount of construction work that was going to have to go on in the Bigham Road, Irwin Road, Angel Road area. People were going to lose the fronts of their lawns for reconstruction because the school buses couldn't get in and out of there, and that the exit area was going out on Elm Street at the worst corner in the intersecting way in the town of North Reading. And we kept saying it's dangerous for the kids, it's dangerous for this, dangerous for that. The other thing was, by leaving it where it is at the LD Bachelor School, the kids can visit the fire station, the police station, the library, and sit on the common, and they're part of the society, and that's why we took that stand. We were not against the school per se, we were against the location they were trying to build the school in. Where it is now, it's a tremendous addition to the Bachelor School. Everybody seems to like it, and I was very proud to stand on that decision, even though it cost me the election that year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that may be right, okay. Yeah, with regard to the Swan Pond School, our forefathers had laid that property aside so that we can build a school at that location. It was designed by some very wise men way before we came along, and that was its intent. With regard to ticks and things like that, when you build a structure, you change the environment, those types of things are taken care of and they go away. But the big important thing that concerned me most about that, and I was very involved in that when as far back as with Yes in the mid-90s, late 90s I should say. The cost of the batch was practically double what we had to pay, what we could have paid for the Swan Pond. So the cost to the community was exorbitant at that time. I mean, we could have had the school built, I believe it was for like $6.5 million, and it cost us around $14 million to build that, the Batch. The Batch is a nice, beautiful school. It really is. But I don't think it really meets the needs in the big picture that we could have had. And that extra money that we spent, we could have spent on other things that had available to us, to the town, for other projects and a new school that we have going up now. Thank you.
Okay. So let's move to
Do I have a right of
completely.
rebuttal?
No, I think I think we've killed this issue, especially since you have the school already built. That's funny, we had the same thing in my town, 2 school sites, but anyhow. So I want to go on to a completely different subject, and Mr. Smith, this will go to you first.
Okay.
The Tennessee Gas Pipeline has contacted town residents in an effort to get permission to run the pipeline through town. And what is your position about running a gas pipeline through North Reading?
Well, I certainly don't favor it, but I certainly can understand where we can fight all we want. We're not going to get anywhere. It's a federal project. My understanding now is that there's going to be a public relations meeting and a meeting to discuss the whole pipeline story with the Board of Selectmen in early June in the town hall. But I also know that the town administrators informed them to stop knocking on people's doors, and they continually do it, whether they've been informed by the Board of Selectmen. I think it was at the direction of the Board of Selectmen to notify the Tennessee gas line people to stop continuing banging on doors and asking for permission to go onto their properties. The meeting, that I said, is going to be a public relations type of things to, clarify what they're doing and why they're doing it and when they're going to be doing it and how they're going to be doing it and everything else that's got to contend with it. But I was rather disappointed, like everybody else, that they continually just come in and do whatever they want, as a lot of government agencies do these days. They don't care about anything and anybody. They just come in when they want, do what they want, and then go home. So, but right now, that's my understanding. There's going to be a meeting in early June. Everybody can attend that has questions, problems with what's going on, and a lot of those questions should be answered, I presume, at that meeting, which I would certainly attend.
And Mr. Yule?
Yes, I think nothing riles me more than when the federal government decides to come up with some programs that are business-friendly, but not necessarily friendly to the people who have to deal with it. Now, like anything, any other project, there's good things and there's not so good things. And as I understand, that there's going to be some compensation to some of the landowners. But it's important, even at this level, for us to be involved, not only in the provincial responsibilities that we have, but we have to have better connections to our state representatives and to our federal representatives. And that's the only time that if we have that dialogue, and I have a good relationship with the state representatives, and hopefully, if November goes well, I'll have even better relationships at the federal level. I think that we have to have those relationships because we pay for sins, what I call sins of the past. There are many decisions that are done in the past because we're not involved in it one way or another, and consequently, all of a sudden, we get slammed with a federal program that was put in place that we had no idea and no input. And so I think it's very important, at least in my perspective, that as a selectman, I will develop close relationships with our representatives, whether at the U.S. Congress or at the state, at the U.S. Senate or the state level.
Okay. Anything to add, Mr. Smith?
No,
Okay.
I'm all set with that one.
Okay. So the next question will go to Mr. Yule first, and I'm going back to the more general. What do you believe qualifies you to become a selectman in the town of North Reading?
That's an interesting question. Fundamentally, the only thing that qualifies someone to be a selectman is that they be 18, they live in the town, they be registered in the town, and there's a third one, I'm forgetting what it is. But those are the only requirements that we have, and that brings me to something that I'm on record as having said at our Board of Selectmen meetings. The weakest link in town government is the Board of Selectmen. We're the weakest link. We all have skill sets that we can bring to the board. But the area of expertise in this town is at the TA level and his direct reports. They're the ones that have been going through the training, have 10, 20, 30, 40 years of training, and then the selectman comes in, and they have no experience and no understanding. And we have to rely on their area of expertise, use our skill set, put them all together, and come up with some type of solution on any given issue at any given day. And I think that's something that I feel is a strong attribute that I bring. I ask questions. I have no agenda on my questions. I just want to know the answers. I want to pull the facts in, and I want to make it work so that I can listen to all the members of the board and anybody that comes before us in such a way that we get a clear understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. So that's an important skill set that I think I bring to the board, and I think it's necessary to understand that we have a lot of expertise available to us, and we should learn to take advantage of it.
And Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I consider myself a different type of, I took a different type of approach to finally become a member of the Board of Selectmen. And my approach was to start on the bottom of the ladder and work my way up. I started by, I actually was on both departments, both fire and police departments, for a period of 29 and a half years. But then I always wanted to be a member of the Board of Selectmen. So I started as a representative, as the personnel representative of both the fire and police and all the town employees for a while. On the personnel board, I represented the employees. And then I took a stint on with the finance committee. I went from there to the community plan, to the Board of Public Works. And from the Board of Public Works, I went to the Community Planning Board. And from the Community Planning Board, I went to the Board of Selectmen. So I really feel that I've gained a great wealth of knowledge and on the part of all the different positions and how the town functions. I think I've lived here 78 years. I think I can be a wealth of information for the board, not a wealth of information, but good information I can bring to the board, and a good past history of the knowledge of what the town needs and how it functions. And I think I can be a credit to the board, and that's why I'm running again. I had hoped that somebody younger than me would have certainly stepped up to the plate to become a member of this board. Oh, Jeff, I'm sorry. Sorry, Jeff. And,
Thank you. Everything's solved.
But it's really time for somebody else to step up besides Jeff and myself. And he came back and I came back because nobody was running for the office. And I just felt somebody had to come back in here and represent the young families and the senior citizens. They both seem to be left behind in a lot of these decisions that are being made. Thank you.
Mr. Yule, anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that when we sit in this in this position, this office, we have to be part of the solution more than anything else, not part of the problem. And we need to make sure that we understand and have the empathy for what's going on within the community. We need to understand that there are many families that are struggling right now, and we need to handle our budget as if we are struggling right now, and we are. We have a lot of issues that we have to deal with in the community and at the board level, and we need to take into consideration that they cost a lot. That means they cost the citizens a lot. So we have to be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
And Mr. Smith, anything to add?
Well, no, I just think along the way we've got to change some of the words. That uncertainty has got to become certainty. There's too many loose ends of everything. We've got to do more for the senior citizens, a lot more for senior citizens, and a lot more for young people. In between there's a situation going on in this town now. Well, I shouldn't get into that because it's not part of this question, but I will later on. I just feel that it's a huge job, it's a huge undertaking, and there's a lot of homework involved. And you have to be prepared for each session that you're coming to, and if you don't do your homework and you try to address the board at a particular meeting without any of the facts, it's like the federal government worked on with the controversial health care package. They all voted, but nobody read the package, and I've seen that before on the Board of Selectmen. I don't work that way. I try to become prepared, and I am prepared when I come to the meetings. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to get back to some more specifics, and this will go to you, Mr. Smith, first. Unfunded state mandates, everybody's favorite subjects. And the question is, what are the top 2 or 3 unfunded mandates that you feel impact the school and municipal government, and how would you and how will you address each of these issues?
Well, I can remember way back when the state started mandating programs. The original intent by the state, and they never fulfilled their obligation, was to fund the mandates. And instead, the mandates are killing the school budget, they're killing the general government budget, they're killing small industry and small business with all the mandates and the regulations, and they're becoming now called strangulation, because what they've got is their hands around everybody's neck, and they're strangling the whole economy. In a big way, it's affecting the school. And I can remember listening to Mel Webster, because I watched a lot of the school committee meetings. Mel Webster, about 3 weeks ago, he palmated them, and he came out in strong resistance to the mandates from the state in relation to the school budget. And he's absolutely right. He's right on target with those statements. But it's true in the general government part of the situation, too. They're coming down with so many regulations, so many rules that everybody's got to abide by, and without putting a cost on it, without contributing to the problem. And like as Jeff just said, they're creating the problem and not solving it. They create the problem and expect everybody else to dig into their pockets a little deeper and come up with money to satisfy these mandates. And it's impossible to function. You just can't keep going down this road because everybody's going to be broke. That's pretty much all I've got to say about mandates, but I'm not too much in favor of them, that's for sure.
And Mr. Ewell?
Yes, mandates by the state, when we pay taxes to the state, they come up with programs and they supposedly give us money back. But then they decide, they have caveats on them and restrictions on them. The Chapter 70 funding and this SPED circuit breaker, those two are just killing our schools. Now, if they didn't have these mandates, we'd have so much more money available to us. We'd be able to get more things done. That's why we have to work continually closely with our state representatives. We have to stay on top of them. And we also, again, to repeat from the other question, we have to stay on top of our congressmen and on top of our U.S. senators, because they're the ones, along with through the state, who create these blockades for us to educate our children. The programs that we have some really good programs for SPED students and so on, but we're limited. Our hands are tied. We spend a lot of money sending students elsewhere because they don't feel that we could do it in-house. And I know that we can do it in-house and do a better job for our SPED students. So the Chapter 70 funding and the SPED circuit breaker really need to be taken under control, and we need to change the atmosphere at the state level, and we have to take not only us as a Board of Selectmen, but we need to start working with other boards of selectmen in order to get together and address these issues at the state level.
Would you like to add anything, Mr. Smith?
No, I would just agree with Jeff wholeheartedly that the school system, especially our school system, I know some aren't as good as ours, and we do have a fantastic school system in this town. And I think if we're going to have an educational system, we certainly have more than well-qualified people to run it. I don't think we need the state coming marching in here and telling us what to do with the curriculum and everything else. I think we have very qualified people, and it's certainly showing up in the new superintendent at school principal with that lady, Mrs. Willis, or whatever her name is, Mrs. Willis, is it?
Kathleen Willis.
Kathleen Willis. She seems to be a fantastic leader, and I just think we have the qualified people to do the qualified training, and our kids can come out of there with a very good education.
Anything?
Yes. We can do so much more with our programs. For example, in the high school, they have advanced programs, AP courses for students, and through the diligent work of the principal, in my case, and I think it's true in many other cases, my son was able to have 13 credits applied to his college. So that means now he's able to graduate. He took another course. He's able to graduate a half a year sooner. That's dollars. That's a lot of dollars. And we could do so much more if these mandates were not in our way, if the state would only help us and allow us to educate our children as we feel it is best.
Okay, thank you. And another specific question, and this goes to Mr. Yule first. How do you feel about a central sewer water system? How will residents benefit? How do you propose to pay for it?
The second part's the hard part. I've given this a lot of thought recently, and when I was on the board. There's no doubt that this town can flourish if we have a wastewater system going down Main Street, along Winterd, out to the school, and over to Concord Street. Those are the key areas. And so would Martin's Pond. They would gain by it. They'd be able to get a lake that has clean water and not filled with parasites and so on. So it's crucial to our town growth. And the community has to make a decision, sooner or later. Are we going to be a bedroom community supported by septic systems, or are we going to be a community that's going to flourish and grow? And big difference on this, and I know there's dollars and cents to this on some people, on many people, but in order for us to be a community of a broad spectrum of people, we need a sewer system. Otherwise, the real estate taxes will only go up higher and higher and higher, and that will force out many of the people who can't afford the taxes as it is. So it's a tough nut to crack right now, because money has to be put out there. And where is it going to come from? In truth, I don't think many of us in the town have that kind of money. And so that's why, again, we have to have the relationships at the state level. We have to have, we need a big dig. That's what we need. All right? Boston got it. Why not us? And that would help our town. Now, whether those funds come from the state or from the federal government, that's for us to constantly hammer away at our state and federal representatives.
And Mr. Smith,
Thank you.
Do you have opinions on sewers?
Yeah, the first time I have to disagree with you on the issue of, I don't think we need a big dig at all. If you reference to, especially the Boston one, you saw what happened in there. They funded it, and then they funded it, and then they funded it, and then they funded it some more. And it's still, they have a problem with the big dig. However, with the sewers, there's no question the town of North Reading, if they had sewers, they could attract more business and bigger business and better business, which they probably should have been looking at, and we were looking at, even as far back as 1960, when I was about 20, whatever I was then, maybe 30, and we were looking at sewers back then, and they still couldn't come up with a program. And back then, things were funded, and once again, we missed the boat because we didn't take the funding that was available from the federal government. But the other sad part about the sewers is when we had an opportunity for a local contractor to develop, instead of condos over here on Route 62, 400 of them over there, it's like the local contractor was gonna develop condos for office condos, and he was gonna build parking garages. So 9 out of 10 of those trees would still be standing, number one. We wouldn't have the police department constantly over there 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week because of the constant complaints of people over there and the constant drug problem they have over there. We would have eliminated that problem, and we also would have had $1.6 million in tax revenue coming to the town without the headaches. I thought that was another bad decision on the part of the town. I was on the board at the town. My vote was with the Berry Commission, was to go with Bruce Wheeler, who was the local contractor, and not go with Gutierrez, who was the developer that built those 400 units over there. Did you just flash something? Oh, okay. I'll stop.
Okay. Anything to add, Mr. Ewell?
The wastewater, I didn't know if you were for the wastewater or against the wastewater, because you threw in something else rather than, you spoke about
What wastewater?
the J.P. Perry. The question was about wastewater.
No, I agree. We eventually do need a sewer system. How we're gonna get it, I don't know. It's gonna be awful expensive. Right now, the last I heard was $63 million to go down Main Street and out Concord Street. We also had an opportunity to come up 93 at one time, and I forget how that all went. But we've had 2 opportunities to get wastewater, as sewer you're talking.
This is when you were on
The
the
sewer.
board?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, so the question becomes really now, how can we do that? And as I said, we don't have the funds in each household, but the direction to go is to really put a lot of pressure on our representatives and have them come up with some funds for us, because without it, it's almost impossible for us to accomplish this. But it's necessary. Again, this is from sins from the past. We're suffering from sins of the past. There are too many sins from the past that current boards have to deal with that don't allow us, that tie our hands. And that's one of the things that I recall when being on the board. I felt like my hands were tied because of some ridiculous decisions in the past. So hopefully we will be able to correct those as we go forward. So the key here is got to work with our representatives at the higher levels.
Got a little confused because you were both talking, but I think, Mr. Smith, that you owed a few more, another minute if you have
I'm owed
anything else.
another minute?
If you have anything else, I think.
I don't
Right.
think so, but.
Well, I got
Final part.
confused because,
I'll use my minute to address the 400 units over there then. And what was going to go along with Mr. Wheeler's presentation to the town, along with the condos for office buildings, he was also going to put in a treatment facility that was going to take care of Martin's Pond and part of Concord Street. How we never accepted his proposal, I'll never understand. One comment that I'll always and never forget was, oh, it might look like an inside job. And I can remember saying to that individual, I don't care what it looks like. Let's get the job done, let's get the sewer in here, and let's get these condos in here. But they went against that decision. And again, I thought it was a poor decision on the part of the community or one of the committees.
okay. Well, we're getting towards what I thought we would wrap up at 8:15 and go to your wrap-ups. But I thought this was a great question to end this with, and you'll be able, whatever it is you would like to say, you'll be able to fit it in this question. And we'll go to Mr. Smith first. It says, what kind of town do you see North Reading in 5 years, and why?
Oh, if they continue down the road they're going, I see it pretty well in debt, to be honest with you. I mean, we have a bonded debt, account that's staggering right around $87 million. I believe we're in debt right now. And if they keep spending at the rate they're spending, we're going to see a lot more added to that number. I think we should start concentrating on the ways we're spending our money. I think we have to look at new growth revenues. The new growth revenues, the way the town has been using this, and I used to discuss this with George Dow, the old town accountant that lived in Middleton. Every time it would come up in a new year, the town was taking the new growth revenues, which are revenues derived from permits, fees, home construction, all different ways. Those are all new growth revenues, all those different areas. And under the levy limit the proposed levy limit governed by Proposition 2.5, you can take the new growth revenue at the end of the year and you can add it to the levy limit, which is, the levy limit is 2.5% of what you had spent the previous year. You can take the levy limit and add it to, you can take the new growth revenues and add it to the levy limit, and we generally get between $400,000 and $600,000 in new growth revenue. The town of North Reading's been taking that new growth revenue, adding it to our expense account area, ongoing years, year after year after year. And if you take $500,000 and add it to your levy limit for 5 years, that becomes $2.5 million. And if you think about it, you've got an expense over here of $5 million, and you're trying to pay for it with $500,000 of new growth revenue. It doesn't work. New growth revenue should be used for one-time items or areas of concern where you can apply it, but it doesn't carry over into the next year, so you compound your expense accounts into an unreasonable area where you can't fund it. And that's one way that we got ourselves in so much trouble back in the 90s. I was on the board then. I was on the board from 90 to 2001, I believe. I fought that constant battle, and even though George Dow agreed with me, he said to me one day, I don't dare to come in with that to the Board of Selectmen. They'll be mad at me.
Okay.
And those are the situations we used to be
I'm
faced
just
with.
going to ask you to stop there, and you'll have a lot of time in your 5-minute
Okay.
ending to talk more. And so, Mr. Yule, what kind of town do you see North Reading being in 5 years, and why?
I'm an optimist. I look at the positive. I don't worry about the negative. Too busy going forward and trying to understand the opportunities that lie before us. We have to become a more business-friendly community. Right now, we have some spaces on Route 28 Main Street that are vacant, have been vacant for a long time, and at this point, we need to address that. We need to grow our businesses or allow our businesses to grow within our community. Again, the wastewater is an impediment on that because we need to have businesses that can well, we're limited on the businesses that we can put there because if they are only septic friendly, then they're not going to be interested in putting a business there if they know that we're going to have a wastewater system in there. If we have if we get a company that's interested that is capable of wastewater usage, they may not want to do it at this time because they don't want to bear the brunt of the cost. So that's an impediment that we have. But if we become a more business friendly, we have a greater opportunity to grow the community. One of the biggest problems and hurting us is unfunded liabilities. It's huge. It was big when I was on the board. I assume it's either bigger or just as bad now. And unless we address those issues, we're going to have some difficulties ahead of us. Again, I'm an optimist. I know that we can overcome those things with the right people on the board, which would be me in this case. And that's how I would approach that at this time.
Mr. Smith, do you want to add to that? Or?
Well, in truth of the matter is, 5 years from now, I think with the right adjustments, the town can be even better than it is. I mean, right now, we've got everything. We've got the best recreation. We've got, are you all set?
Sorry. You just go on. Thank you. Thank you.
We have great recreation. We have best ball fields. We have good schools. We have good fire department. We got good paramedics. We've got a good public works department. We've got the best of the best in the town, but I think we can still be better. But I don't think we should go to be better with too much expense unless it's affordable. We never hear the word affordable in this town anymore, and affordability is so important when you're doing budgets. I hear them all the time saying, well, we got a balanced budget. But the reason the budget is balanced is because everybody's pockets have been picked dry, and their money is where the town is. The town's saying we're well off financially. Well, we're well off financially because everybody's pockets have been picked and they haven't got any money. It's all in the town.
So we'll give Mr. Yule another minute, and then you'll have your 5-minute wrap up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, I just have to reemphasize the unfunded liabilities and the impact it has on this town, and they truly have to be addressed. And we started to address them when I was on the Board of Selectmen in 2012. But again, we have to be business friendly. It's just so crucial. We rely on them, and if we're not business friendly, we're going to have what we have on Main Street. It's been well over 5 years, I believe now, since Stop and Shop has moved over to where Shaw's used to be. So, and that issue hasn't been addressed, and there has been, I don't know this, but it appears that there has been no push to solve that problem. So,
Okay, wonderful. So our questions are done, and now it's time for your 5-minute wrap-up. And Mr. Yule, you can go first.
thank you. I moved here in 1995 with my wonderful wife Irene and 6-month-old twins, who are now 19 years old. They're in college. One is at Ithaca, it's thriving. One is at Boston Conservatory, also thriving. The last time I went through a debate like this, my whole family was here. But my wife is watching my daughter perform tonight, and I'm stuck with Bill. And life is not fair. But, you know, the Board of Selectmen need to ensure that the town government needs to be effective in its purpose and efficient in its application. It needs to manage the town within the Constitution and the town constitution and state law. Protect townspeople from professional and political corruption. And when I use the word corruption, I mean as in broken. Okay, that there's a distinction, not the connotation of corruption, but the aspect of it being broken. This election is about moving forward, not moving back. Bill comes from a period of time where he spoke about things that happened way back when, where a lot of mistakes were being made, and the consequences that we have to pay for and deal with right now. The wastewater treatment is a good example. In fact, a couple of years ago when I was on the board, we were talking about it costing $40,000. Now it's up to $60-some-odd thousand. So we're paying for a lot of sins in the past, and we need to overcome that. I have no special interest, but the town and the people that live here. I am politically involved, as many people know, but I'm not political. It's time to put preferences aside and work for the greater good. I will work with the new board, every single member. I will work with the state reps. We have big issues that hurt. Chapter 70 funding is insufficient. Sped circuit breaker is inadequate. The senior housing is deplorable. Chapter 90 funding is a joke. We need to protect North Reading from the state and federal mandates. Those are the things that we have to constantly stay on top of. And I will work with the Board of Selectmen in that regard. We have to work with the unions, with the unfunded liabilities. We need to come together somehow. We have to realize it's their town and it's our town, and we all live in here together, and the costs are choking the residents. I would challenge the board with questions. A lot of people don't realize that when I ask a question, I'm just looking for facts. I'm not trying to be judgmental. I want facts. I ask a question, you give me an answer. Is it necessary, and can we afford it? Those are the two most important things. And then there's transparency. I believe, with the exception being the rule, that everybody should know what we know. We should be open and transparent so that people will understand what we're doing. We would not be in a position with the town administrator if there was greater transparency with the way that was handled. I'm not trying to be critical of them, but it's kind of the facts do speak for themselves, as reported in the transcript. So transparency is very important to help us go forward. Otherwise, everyone starts to snicker, and that's not good for going forward. The goal, my goal, is to bring the board together, not to fight, not to have unnecessary arguments. It's not put the egos aside. I can and I will do that. And in the end, we must work together anyway in order to achieve our goals for the town, and that's vital. Trust is important. We need to be able to trust each other. When someone gives us a point of view, we need to know that that point of view is just based on the facts that they're given and it's being objective and trying to solve the problem. We have, and as I said before, the Board of Selectmen is truly the weakest link in town government. We do our best, but the experts are the TA and his immediate support. So when I am on the board, I would suggest to everybody, come in, I will listen, and that's what I do, because that's the best thing that we can offer to people, is to listen to them and let them know that we understand and are going to work on the issues that concern them. Thank you to the League of Women Voters. I appreciate everything that you do every year. And may whoever fills your shoes live up to your standards. And thank you, North Reading. The people of North Reading, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity, and I thank you very, very much.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Smith, 5 minutes.
Well, I'm certainly not running to win a popularity contest. I'm running to do a job that I always enjoyed before and a job that I want to do again. I look at everybody in the town as a shareholder of the town. When we purchase something, we're all purchasing. It's all our money that's going into something. And I see a lot of our assets that are becoming liabilities. And a point that I would like to bring out is, one of them is the Hillview Country Club. The Hillview Country Club has been an asset to acquire. By taking the revenues from the Hillview Country Club, we've acquired more properties. One of the properties that we just acquired was Eisenhower Pond. They took Eisenhower Pond and they explained to the town meeting that we can take all this land, which was around Eisenhower Pond, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, that land around the Eisenhower Pond off of Haverhill Street. There's probably 40 to 50 acres up there or something. But it was explained at town meeting that they could take that land for $450,000. Right now, they're at $3.7 million for that same acquisition. And now we're bonding it because there was no way out. They took it by eminent domain, explained it to the people that they couldn't use their land for anything. Those people finally found out that they could use their land, that they had buildable lots. And the town said, you can't build on these lots. When in fact they could. They could build on them as grandfathered lots. So the people decided to take a class action suit against the town. So far, there's been 19 complaints against the town that have been satisfied through monies that have been spent by the town. So instead of spending $450,000 and doing some research to find out what they were buying, they just arbitrarily went in and bought it. And this is what they're left with, $3.7 million that's going to be bonded for 30 years, which will go from $3.7 million, probably $8 million. That's going to be taxpayer money wasted. Because now they can't, where are they going to get the money to do anything on that land? They've spent all the money in the purchase. Just another issue that should never have happened. They should have looked into it, and even town council stood up at town meeting and said, we can buy this land for $450,000. That's a great deal. Any builder in the community, we're in the building business, any builder in the community could have walked in there and said, well, Jesus, if they're going to give you $450,000, we'll give you $1 million. And there was lot after lot after lot that were on recorded land that was recorded prior to the zoning in this community, and these people had every right to build on that land. So instead of buying it for $450,000, as I've already said, they spent $3.7 million so far, and that number is only going to go up as the years go by. So we're faced with a bill for 30 years that we should never have had. That's one of the things that's bothered me. But I just wanted to leave that with you as one of the things that's very upsetting. But as most of you know, I've lived in the community for close to 79 years. The position of Board of Selectmen is, as Jeff has already said, is a very key board, a very key position in the town of North Reading. I know that as a board member, it is important to treat all the people, all the time, equally with fairness. If elected, I will always remember the people that put their trust in me and expect me to do an honorable job in the performance of my duties. Your voice will be my voice. It will be the voice of reason. Too many young families, senior citizens are being taxed out of their homes with nowhere to go. They're frustrated, they're scared, and they're disgusted with the way things are going. It is nice to have the best of both worlds, but it's very, very expensive to do that. My goal is to allow you to keep your money in your pockets and put more money on your tables to feed your family. I ask for your support and your vote of confidence, and I look forward to representing you as your next selectman on May 6th. Thank you very much.
Well, and thank you both, and thank
Thank
you
you.
both for stepping up. Excellent. And,
Do you want to have them skip down and have the other two come up?
okay, okay, and now we're going to hear from the candidates who are unopposed, so if
Mr.
you
Murphy,
folks
Mr. Bowers,
would like to,
relax a minute.
yeah. And I think we're going to ask, well, do you think we'll come sit?
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's just
Mr.
easier.
Murphy and Mr. Bowers, if you both grab a seat, and we'll ask Mr. Murphy to speak first, since you're first on the ballot. Oh, yeah. Good. Sit down jacket. Okay, everybody settle down? And Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this forum again. I'm actually running for I believe, my 10th term as town moderator. I moved to North Reading in 1995 with my wife and 2 children, who are now grown and have both left the community. My wife and I love it here. We plan to stay here. I've always been active in the community. I've served on the elementary school building committee, the trustees of trust funds, and I also served on the Board of Selectmen. And having done that, I wonder why 2 prior members would want to go back. That's a different story. I thoroughly enjoy being town moderator. The role of town moderator has 2 main responsibilities. One is to preside over the town meeting, whether it's an annual town meeting, which occurs in June or in October, or it's a special town meeting. And the other role is to appoint the town's finance committee, which provides guidance and oversight on the budget process. And there's actually a third one, which is probably the most fun. I get to judge the kids' bike contest at the Memorial Day Parade. I really love the job. That's why I'm running for re-election. Every year I have run unopposed, but I've always come to this forum to tell the community that I really want this job. I'm not just running because no one else is running. I love what I do, and I look forward to another term as town moderator for North Reading. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Bowers?
Well, I read in the lead-up of the letter that I got on this session that I was supposed to speak to the issues, and I had 5 minutes. That doesn't seem like it's a very possible thing to do related to the schools. There's basically 2 big issues we're dealing with today, and one of them is, of course, money. We never have enough money. I think one of the greatest disappointments that I've had in the past 2 or 3 years is the vote that we took to authorize the high school principal to offer Mandarin at a cost of about $10,000. And I put an amendment on that, and I said, and to fund it, to pledge to fund it. And we haven't done that. We can't. We don't have that much money. That's a crime. And of course, anyone in town will tell you, we spend an awful lot of money on education. One of the things about my background is that I'm a registered professional engineer, and I worked as a consulting engineer for 45 years all over the world. For 30 years, I was a principal in a large consulting firm. And so I got to do a lot of construction work. We have a very, very nice project going on right here in town, $122 million project. And one of the biggest issues to deal with today is the transition from the situation we're in right now with an old school into this beautiful new school. I've taken a particular because of my background, I've taken a particular interest in the school. I sat in on the programming of all of the classrooms, what was needed. I've worked through all of the selection committees. I've been on every selection committee involving all of the qualifications of the subcontractors and everyone. And I've played a very big role in that, and I've taken also a special interest during the construction. I'm on the site every week at the site meetings, and I do a tour of the site every week. And I pay attention, and I point out things that I see along the way to the professionals that we have on the scene, and talk about issues coming up and sort of slow those down. One of the things I'm very pleased to report to you is that we're getting a very, very high-quality design, a product that you're going to all be very proud of and is going to last a long time. One of the examples I've used is in the design issue is that all of the railings on the stairs are stainless steel. They're not going to have that bumpy painted thing that you see in stair railings because they're not going to be painted. They're stainless. But at the same time, the little hook that goes in to hold them onto the wall is regular carbon steel. That cuts the cost down. That's good design. In addition to that, we have extremely good construction going on. The subcontractors that we have are doing really good work. So we're going to have a very nice facility. We're also on target for getting the project online. They're going to even be looking for a temporary occupancy permit or an initial occupancy permit on July 1st. Delivery of the school is scheduled for August 17th. I'm there all the time. I'm taking it on, much like I did in my career, as my project. I know it's yours, but they never were mine anyway. They always belonged to somebody else. But I've taken a special interest in it. And I'm sure that we're getting the right thing. The other thing about that, and I read a report a couple of 3 weeks ago by various entities here in the Commonwealth of what we need in education over the next 10 to 20 years in order to stay at the top of the educational pyramid and to keep Massachusetts competitive. And when I read through that, each of the items that I saw, the things about collaborative spaces, about the way that the teachers interact and collaborate, the Wi-Fi everywhere, all of those features are built into our new school, every one of them. And so we're going to have a facility that truly meets the educational needs of our students for the whole of the next 50 years.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
exciting. Congratulations.
Happy to
So
closing.
I'm going to turn this over to Cynthia now to tell you when the
you to
election.
stay here a minute.
I forgot to ask you to vote for me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll vote.
If you
Oh,
had
whoops, I don't live here.
10 seconds more, you could
Yeah.
do that.
Go ahead.
Yes, will you please vote for me? I enjoyed being on the school committee, and I've spent 6 years getting up to speed and really finding out what it's all about. I fought the revenue issues. We're very fortunate in town that we have a finance planning team because that really balances the needs of the community, the conflicting priorities, and it does it well. We're really shortchanged by the state. The Chapter 70 funds are never enough for what we should have. The unrestricted aid for the rest of the town is never adequate. And we have some structural problems. I know I'm way beyond a minute, but we have some structural problems that we have a very large number of children for the number of people in town. And that ratio is a critical item. If we had the same ratio as Saugus, for instance, we'd have about a third as many students, and that means we'd have a third less kids to educate. and our bill would be a whole lot less. But we don't have that situation. And so our structure is such that we hurt more. That's a big issue. And I fought with the people at DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, about changing the formula so that it reflects the kind of town that we are and those circumstances. I've written to the governor with ideas of how to finance the school systems in the Commonwealth. I've served on numerous committees and coalitions to try to find ways to reduce the number of unfunded mandates. I put together a spreadsheet involving 19 different communities on the North Shore to try to look at the unfunded mandates and take those we took those to the State House and delivered that message. I fought about every way you can fight. Numerous days on the Hill. Deanna Castro was been in there with it. Marcy's been in there with it. We've fought in every way possible to try to get more funds, and we just don't have very much success at that. So we're sort of stuck with 2.5 plus growth to fight against unfunded mandates, and it's everything we touch, everything down to the school lunch menu, which causes the kids not to want to eat the food. It's good food, it tastes good to me, but the kids don't like it. And they'd much rather save their lunch money and go over to Ryer's or the Hornet's Nest and buy something that they do like. We can't produce that because the feds say you can't or you won't get funds. And, oh, well, we could say blow those folks off, but we won't take the funds because we don't have that many kids that get free lunches. But unfortunately, the state has rules that say you can't serve that stuff either. So we're stuck with this $50,000, $100,000 a year of shortfall. And those are real issues that we fight all the time. Putting the budget together is tough, and we're very fortunate. I've also served on all the selection committees of all the key people we've hired, and including Kathleen Willis, which I think the last time I said was enough for you to hire me on again. Anyway, just with that one item. But we have all the right people, and we work very hard at balancing that budget every year and make sure the kids get the right education. And we do. We rank real high in the state on delivery and real low on cost. Not as low as we used to be, but some of the other communities have cut back below us. But
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a great piece.
it's more than,
Yep, yeah.
that's more than my 5 minutes.
Now, so before we convene, I just wanted to thank all the candidates for being here tonight, for participating in the forum, for the members of the audience here that are live and the folks at home watching cable, and your interest in the democratic process. We wanted to thank Mr. Therese, who's done some wonderful work. He always has wonderful articles after the forum, but for the questions and the 2 articles he had about the league and candidates night. And then thanks Mary Jane Moran from our neighboring lead, and thanks to NORCAM for their contributions to coming and taping this, and that this will be shown through next week so that folks who didn't have a chance to be either here or at home tonight to watch this, it will be shown again. And I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters, Ginny Mills here, who's our timer, and Meg Robertson. And just to remind you that voting is next week. So on a personal note for the League, would just like to thank you and a farewell. Meg and Ginny and I have been personally involved in the candidates night for over 22 years. I've been in North Reading for 25, so it's really kind of hard to believe, since I'm only 39, that all those years have gone by. But we want to thank you, and that we have sponsored the Candidates Night, and Candidates Night itself goes back to over 50 years, so it's had a long, wonderful history in North Reading, and that we still are looking for people to replace the present board. We're looking for at least 4 people who can be nonpartisan and would join the state league. That's part of the criteria to carry this on. But we have had a wonderful offer from the state league or from the Middleton or other local leagues to mentor new members. And if we don't get folks that can step up in North Reading, that they would be willing to work with the town to offer a candidates night. So I'm going to leave all the information about the state league and the neighboring leagues with Barbara Stats. On a personal note, so I hope I can get through this. My family's downsizing after 25 years. Our kids have had a fabulous education in North Reading, but now our 3 kids have flown the coop, so it's time for us to move on, maybe make a pitch for more over 55 housing in North Reading, because a lot of the issues that people have brought up, it really is true that when you get to near the end of your career, it's quite challenging, but it's really a fabulous town. There's so many wonderful things about North Reading. It's my husband and I have very, very conflicted feelings about leaving, but personally, that's the best thing. And I've really enjoyed being president of the league for the past 22 years and chairman of the Candidates Night. And we've had a wonderful League of Women Voters team for all these years. I think that North Reading, not only is it a wonderful town, but we have wonderful people who are willing to volunteer, as the folks you've seen tonight, but all the other candidates, either the elected officials or appointed officials who have taken it upon themselves to volunteer for many, many years, and it really keeps North Reading on the cutting edge. I think it's a wonderful town. I'm talking about it all the time with people that have particularly young children, that I'm encouraging them to actually move here. And so I really will miss North Reading, and I want to keep in touch, but I want to thank you all for coming to Candidates Night. If you have any feedback for the league on folks who might be willing to join and take on the board to continue it, would love to hear it. You can email me. And I thank Mr. Therese for having the 2 articles and the recent transcripts addressing those issues. But I think this has been brought up in recent forums. It's very challenging to get people to volunteer in committees. I think between people's work and their family and their church obligations, it's getting harder and harder to get volunteers. So the league really appreciates that people have the courage and the strength to continue to volunteer. And I think from the candidates that you've seen tonight, we have some terrific folks in town. So thank you very much, and hope you have a good night, and don't forget to vote next Tuesday. Thank you.